It's an introduction, a recording to introduce you to this bias, racism, genetics, and the brain. How are they connected? This could be considered a review if you've covered these topics a lot in your organization's prior trainings. It could be an introductory piece to introduce your employees or staff to these ideas. It can be really used for whatever purposes you would like to use it for. If nothing else, it's a great foundation for conversation, and I'm hoping it will be helpful. For some of you, you'll be listening or viewing this because you're about to do some trainings in independent studies that have been created by myself, Michelle Hemingway Pullen, and I've suggested that these might be a good review prior to going deeply into those trainings. So no matter what brought you here, I'm just going to review a little bit briefly about how this works. And by no means is this a comprehensive, in-depth training. It has opportunities for you to do that in it, but it doesn't require you to spend a great deal of time, especially if you're just reviewing. In that case, you definitely don't need to plan on maybe 10, 15 minutes at the most to really review all of this. So I've set it up with a topics board, and you can see on each of these topics squares that it has what kind of time you would spend there if you're doing this as a training where you are going to look in a little more depth, and it tells you about how much time each square would take to do. So if you're doing this as a separate in-depth training, you can count on those times being accurate. Those have been used and tested. So just want to make sure that I'm respectful of anyone's time who's taking this as an in-depth training. So here's how it works. It's really pretty simple. You will click on one of the numbers. So if I click on number 1 under the category racism, you can see each of the categories here. You click here and you'll open a question, and then when you click on the arrow, it will take you to the answer. And then when you click on the arrow pointing the other way, it will take you back to the topic board. So each one of these you'll go through. It is recommended that you go through them in order. It doesn't matter which category you go through. You can start with the brain, you can start with bias, and so on. And I did want to add that there is a review of the topic of microaggressions. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that there is an alternative training called micro interventions, which is really more for people who feel very confident about their ability to navigate tricky situations regarding racism in terms of being an ally. So if you're interested in that, please just let me know and I can provide you with that particular training. But it is not included here because of the introductory or review nature of this particular process. I wanted to point out that a few of the links will take you to an arrow that looks like this. That means the arrow is going to take you to another page and then back to the topic board. And also a few of these have, you can see here, this is one of the longer ones. There are a few like that. There's this, you can see that's 57 minutes long. Again, if you're reviewing, not necessary, but I did want to point out that those are in there. And the this little video is just a few minutes long, and I would encourage you to go ahead and click on that link and watch that. when you end this particular review. All right, thank you very much. Enjoy the review or introduction process. I'm hoping it will be a joyful process, even though it is sometimes takes courage to face racism and to face bias, to face all of this can be both joyful and hard.